06 X3 3.0 m54 engine starter replacement. First things first, you gotta go in your trunk, pop the battery cover, and you have to undo the terminal off of your battery. It's just a 10mm nut right here. You lift it off the battery and set it aside so it will not make a contact with the battery accidentally on its own. Start from the driver's side by removing these two 10mm bolts from the airbox. Remove clamp on the intake hose. Disconnect mass airflow sensor. Remove airbox. Put airbox screws back in place. Remove the bore. 13mm bolts. On the passenger side, to remove the bore, the two bolts, you must first remove this rubber piece. Then you're gonna have to lift this side up on the switch, and then there's this pin. So you push this, after you lift it up, you push this pin out and remove it from this side, and then lift on the whole assembly. Put the bolts back in place. Then remove these rubber pieces. Pop this cover off, and inside you'll find this hose. Tuck inside, pull it out. Remove the cabin filter by twisting counterclockwise these three pins. Lift on the cover, remove the filter. Using T30 socket or bit to remove 4 screws under the cabin filter. After you remove all 4 bolts, just pull on the filter box, kind of up and out. And also you may want to take this hose out. Actually, it's a wire. And just like so, you remove the box. Now take a flathead screwdriver and pop these 2 covers on the engine cover. Using the 10mm socket, remove the 2 bolts that you find under those little covers. Pop the engine cover off the engine. Now you're going to have to remove this socket. Simply push on the metal clip and pull it out. Yourself a small extension and an 11mm socket, and start undoing the bolts and nuts around the intake manifold. So in order to remove your intake manifold, you have to undo your nuts, and between cylinders 2 and 3, and also between 4 and 5, there are 2 nuts in the hole. In order to remove the other nut, you have to undo this portion of the manifold, which is held down by T30 screws. After you undo all those, right above the alternator, you'll find this 10mm guy. Go ahead and undo that one. Now find yourself a longer extension with the 10mm socket, and down under the intake manifold there's another nut that you will have to unscrew. remove this vacuum line off the intake pipe. Now get a flathead screwdriver and undo the clamp on this intake pipe from the other end. It is conveniently located right in this opening. As it appears, there's two hose clamps that you have to loosen, and for the second one you have to use a deeper extension to reach down there, and that's exactly what I'm going to do now. Now pull and remove the hose. Now as you can see, one of these hose clamps are higher, the other one is lower, so you will need an extension for the lower one at least. Now reach down under the manifold, push on the metal clip and unplug this plug. Next we're going to use a 10mm socket to remove this nut. Now press on this metal clip and remove this plug. Next, you're going to go down below, press on this metal clip and remove this plug. Then you're going to go on the top of the manifold and remove this plug. Next, you're going to remove this plug. It doesn't have a metal clip like the other ones, but it has a plastic tab that you're going to press and then pull the plug off. Then your next step would be to go down below and undo that one 10mm nut. If I can add it. That one. When that knot is removed, you can simply undo this, remove this whole assembly electronic. You'll then have to disconnect this hose. So as I started pulling out the intake manifold, I ran out of space because this plastic piece was in the way. So in order to remove that, you just gotta undo these two little guys. One of them is located right in that space and one of them is in here. Just quarter turn either way and pull it out, and then you'll be able to remove this plastic. So this electrical component right here will not let you pull the intake manifold all the way out, so you gotta give it some room, and therefore you have to disconnect a number of sensors like this one right here, then this one right here in the front of the engine, you also want to disconnect this hose. So I wanted to show you a little bit of backside of the intake manifold. The reason why I could not remove my intake manifold from the get-go is because I never undid this big old bolt, which is like 17mm. It is located, if you look at the cylinder ports, somewhere between cylinder 4 and 5. Another thing is you will have to remove this fuel line. This fuel line is disconnected simply by pressing down on this plastic thing, and the tube the fuel line simply pops out. Although it is in a very uncomfortable location, so you're gonna have to reach behind. You will also have to remove the common fuel rail. By the way, this is the fuel line of the fuel rail that is located on top of this intake manifold. So for you, in order to remove this fuel rail, you will have to pop all the injectors, and they are held down by these clips. So now that you have removed your intake manifold, you can finally see your starter. Now, a starter is relatively easy to remove. It's just held down by 2 bolts. Very easy to do. Now, also on top of your starter, you're going to see your wires, power wires. Those are also very easy to undo. Now remember, on one of the terminals you will most likely have a plastic cover, just like I do. It's black in color, so you're going to have to remove that plastic cover in order to access a nut for the power wires. You can take it to your local AutoZone and they will check it for you for free to see if your starter needs to be replaced. With that being said, I hope you have success with your repairs. And if I helped you save any money, please hit that like button. You may also want to consider subscribing to see my new videos when they come out. See you later.